Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Magistus Yugioh deck profile for December 2020, the final deck from the Genesis Impact booster pack that we released. I really think this is an awesome deck for the fact that not alone from the equip abilities of this deck, but also the fact that they are all the different spellcaster decks we've had throughout the year. Endymion, Witchcrafter, Prophecy, and Invoke, all the members of these different decks brought together for one deck. That's really cool for sure. But the playstyle in the deck revolves around different summoning methods with the extra deck, but also focusing on all the different special summonings and equipping different Magistus monsters onto the ones you have on the field to gain different monster effects. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the monsters in the main deck, I run 3 Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoires. So this was originally Yester, I believe, before they all joined together to make this one deck. With this one, you can send one spellcaster monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. You can declare one attribute, and this card becomes that attribute until the end of this turn. And you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Magistus monster you control. Equip it with one Magistus monster from your graveyard, except a level 4 monster. You can use each effect of Crowley once per turn. So it has easy special summon setup, but also the equip setup that works very well for the go-to play style in the deck. And being able to change the attribute does open up a lot of different extra deck plays we can do as well with all of our different monsters. One of my favorites being the Bahamut Shark combo, just needing 2 level 4 water monsters with one of our other Magistus monsters in the deck being water on its own attribute, and that is Endymion, the Magistus of Mastery. You can target one Magistus monster you control, equip it with one Magistus monster from your extra deck, and you can target one face-up spell you control, destroy it, and if you do, draw one card. Then place one card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect of Endymion, the Magistus of Mastery, once per turn. So for just being a rare, it is a very powerful rare at that. Having easy setup for Magistus monsters on the field from our extra deck, which we do run a good amount of Magistus monsters in our extra deck altogether for sure. So being able to rely on this card for that playstyle, very important for sure for that setup, but just being able to rely on that play makes it a definite 3-of in the deck, with the majority of our Magistus monsters in the main deck being a 3-of, so you always have resources to discard and equip and also special summon. I potentially also want to run 3 Zeroa, the Magistus of Flame. It is your go-to tutor in the deck, so definitely want 3 copies of this so you can go into all of the different synchros we run. I just have the Perform Mage Hat Tricker as a placeholder in the deck. It was also released in Genesis Impact, so a good substitute for sure, just being another spellcaster monster that has easy special summon power onto the field. But with Zeroa, the Magistus Flame, you can target one Magistus monster you control, equip it with one Magistus monster from your extra deck, and if this card becomes equipped with a Magistus monster card, you can special summon one level 4 spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, except for Zeroa, the Magistus of Flame, but its effects are negated, and you can only use each effect of Zeroa once per turn. But it's more setup. That's what I basically went with. Our main go-to synchro in the deck is Varam, the Magistus Divinity Dragon, which just needs 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner to make it, so it is a level 8 monster as well. Very useful for sure, being able to summon out that card, but also the equip power and just the speed at which this card can summon out monsters, not only just being a tuner monster, very important for that role in the deck altogether. With the last of our Magistus monsters being our Kiliona, the Magistus of Ver. So also, before I mention it, obviously Endymion, the Magistus of Mastery, is with the Endymion spellcasters, and I believe Zeroa was with the Prophecy spellcasters. I may be wrong there. This might be for another deck if you remember that piece of trivia. And Kiliona is with the Witchcrafters joined together into this deck. With the final one, if this card is normal or special summon, you can activate one of these effects. You add one Magistus spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So good search power, since we are running a good majority of Magistus spells in the deck. And you can return one of your banished level 4 or lower spellcaster monsters to your graveyard, and you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your Magistus monsters you control, equip it with one Magistus monster from your graveyard, except a level 4 monster. You can only use each effect of Kiloona once per turn. More setup, the banish effect to return also does come in handy, but also being able to rely on that search power is the main reason I really like this card at 3, and once again, resources for all of your different Magistus monsters you're running in the deck especially. For some of the more assistance with the spellcaster plays, I also run 2 Summoner Monk. This can also be substituted in for additional hand traps if you wish, but I like it for the spellcaster play. We run plenty of spells in the deck, and one of our Xyz monsters is Nina Ruru, the Magistus Glass Goddess, just needing 2 level 4 spellcaster monsters to make it, so you can increase that speed with your Summoner Monk using the discard to special summon another Magistus monster, and then just benefiting from that Magistus monster on the field also. I also like to run an additional lineup for 4 mage monsters. I run 1 Trick Clown and 2 Damage Juggler, just for more and more setup with our spellcaster monsters, but graveyard resources as well, so you can special summon back Trick Clown and also benefit from the search power, and also just the protection against battle damage against your opponent using your Damage Juggler in the graveyard. For the hand trap lineup, I run 3 Effect Veiler. It's a spellcaster, so it does work with a good amount of the other staple spells we're running in the deck, but doesn't really go well with the level 4 lineup, but still hand trap of choice for this one in the deck, just for, stopping my opponent's monster plays. And lastly, for the monsters in the main deck, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Just once again, the preferred go-to hand trap, being able to stop my opponent's deck searches and also graveyard setup. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. Ideally, I want to run 3 Trismegistus with this one. The first time each Magistus monster equipped with an equip card would be destroyed by battle each turn. It is not destroyed. You can only use one of the following effects of Trismegistus 1 per turn, and only once that turn. I feel like I'm going between Magistus and Magistus. I want to say it's Magistus, but I just keep going back and forth, so I do apologize about that. During your main phase, you can special summon 1 level 4 spellcaster monster from your hand. So good setup there with this continuous spell, but also you can send this face-up card to the graveyard to special summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from your hand. More setup onto the field, giving you resources, whether you want to go for Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, all great plays for sure to rely on with these cards. And for some of the lower numbers for the Magistus monster spell lineup, I run 2 Magistus Vryritra. You target 1 level 4 lower Magistus monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if a Magistus card in your spell and trap zone would be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can use each effect of Vryritra once per turn. It's special summon resources. I don't run 3 of them because early game it won't do as much because you'll have most of the resources on your field or equipped to one of your monsters, but still the protection play from the graveyard for your equip spells that you have onto your monsters is very, very important for sure. Just being able to give you those resources, more and more protection with this special summon power, following suit beforehand. And I also run 2 Magistus Theurgy with this one. Target 1 Magistus monster you control. Equip it with 1 Magistus monster, except a level 4 monster from your extra deck, graveyard, or face-up on the field. If you have at least 1 Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link monster in your graveyard, you can equip it with 1 non-Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster from your extra deck instead. And you can only activate 1 Magistus Theurgy once per turn. So with this, you have options for other extra deck plays, equipping those cards and then giving you additional special summons from the extra deck using those cards. I've thought of using the, Insector Exobeetle play, where you would equip on your Shooting Quasar Dragon and then gain the special summon of your Shooting Star Dragon after it leaves the field. You have all these different options, but they do take up extra deck spots, so we'll go over that more when we're talking about the extra deck. And also, I run for the last of the Magistus spell lineup 2 Magistus Invocation. This one definitely, I'm getting a real vibe from the Invocation spell for Invoked. You fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a spellcaster monster. If summoning a Magistus fusion monster this way, you can also use monsters in your spell and trap zone that are equipped to a Magistus monster. So resources, even if you equip them on, is a big part of it for sure. I might even consider an Invoke deck that focuses focuses on, Invocation and Magistus Invocation as a possibility, with all the other different Magistus cards in the future having light, fire, water, and dark being options for all of the different invoke monsters that we run in the deck to make this play that more possible. And since the main focus in this deck are Synchro, Xyz, Link, and Fusion, I'm only running 2 of it, and the Fusion's not the main focus point for this deck altogether. It's just a big assistance for sure for our plays. For some of the more generic staple cards, I also run the 3 Spellbook of Knowledge, more draw power with all of our spellcaster resources that we have in the deck, and being able to have that draw power means we can set up the graveyard for some other plays, but also have some search power to rely in, searching out knowledge with Spellbook of Secrets, giving us this option for searching out knowledge and thinning the deck out more for preferred draws we have with our other Magistus spells and the monsters altogether if we need to draw into them more. And then to finish off the spell lineup with some of the one-ofs, just 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Foolish Burial, and 1 Call by the Grave. Graveyard setup, pretty explanatory with Foolish Burial and Monster Reborn summoning resources back onto the field, and Call by the Grave disrupting our opponent's graveyard monster plays. But that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, our main go-to Link monster is the Artemis, the Mastery of the Moon Maiden. It is a Link 1 Magistus monster, just needing 1 level 4 or lower spellcaster monsters. So ideally, you could also summon out your Effect Veiler and summon this Link monster. The use of Effect Veiler for some of the other extra deck monsters falls in line with the fact that it is a rank 4 for Nina Ruru and a level 8 for Varam. But with this one, basically, when you summon out another Magistus monster, you can equip this card you control to it, and while it is equipped to a monster, you can add 1 Magistus monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of your Artemis once per turn, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. It's a Link 1, so it would definitely be very easy to just take use of this card more and more if it wasn't limited by that play. But the search power and the fact that it sets up that equip onto all your different Magistus monsters that much easier is definitely why this card is a 3 of. You're going to go through this resource that much more quickly using this card altogether for those plays. For some of the other Link monsters, I also run 1 Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians, a spellcaster Link for more and more setup, especially with the fact that this card specifies an Endymion card on the field. It just gives you the setup more and more with our water attribute Endymion, the Magistus of Mastery that we use in the deck. For the rest of the Link monsters, I run 1 Nightmare Unicorn and 1 Access Code Talker, just more powerhouses for the Link monster lineup that I prefer to run in the deck, so I can have those options, especially when I can special summon out a bunch of different Magistus monsters onto the field to use. For the Synchro monsters, I run 2 Varam, the Magistus Divinity Dragon. If you only wanted to run 1 of this card, this could be the spot to consider the Shooting Quasar Dragon and the Shooting Star play, but that would be also, taking the next spot out, which I find it more consistent to use these cards and the last Synchro that I run. More and more setup. When this card is an equip card, the equip monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell or trap effects, and you can only use each of the following effects of Varam once per turn. If the Synchro Summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls. At the start of damage step, if the equipped monster this card is equipped to battles an opponent's monster, you destroy that opponent's monster, making it a true powerhouse as a Synchro monster, but that much stronger when it is equipped to a Magistus monster, giving you that strength to use for this card altogether. And then lastly, for just the additional Synchro plays, 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, especially with how easy we can just, equip on our different Link monsters onto this card to use. It is very useful for that resource altogether. For the Xyz monsters, I run 2 Nina Ruru, the Magistus Glass Goddess. With this one, having the option to detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 level 4 or higher spellcaster monster in your graveyard and add to your hand. Gives you recycle power with this card, and being able to target a Magistus spell or trap card that your opponent controls with this card set up, and then being able to, while this card is equipped to a monster, have that spell and trap destruction for your opponent's cards. And then lastly, I also run 1 Bahamut Shark and 1 Totally Awesome to finish off the Xyz monsters. We have the Water Attribute Endymion that we run in the deck, but we also have the Attribute Changing Crowley, the Magistus of Grimoires. I'm guessing it kept, Aliester's mastery of all the different attributes with this card, but being able to overlay them into Bahamut Shark will then give us the special summon play of Totally Awesome out on the field also. And then lastly, for the fusions, I have only 1 Iwasa. I want to ideally run 2. I have 1 Sea Monster of Theseus. I really never make this card. I prefer 2 of this card, having more of the power plays for the equip of your Magistus monsters, being able to stop, effects when this card attacks, and being able to have more and more setup to target 1 other face-up monster on the field and equip this card to it for that that set up for all your Magistus plays, and that much easier because we also have the 2 fusion spot lineup using our Magistus invocations to summon these cards out. It's not impossible to get Theseus out on the field, just not as likely as you would want to see this card out. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. That concludes the Genesis Impact deck profiles from the latest booster set in the TCG. I'll definitely be updating these decks in February when we get the newest support for all 3 of them. At least I believe so. I know Evil Twins have support in that upcoming set. I can't remember if Magistus and also the Drytrons do as well. I'll have to relook at that and see if that factor is true. Oh, I believe so, but hopefully, it is true, so we have more and more support to do updates for these decks. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.